So you folks have heard of Jonathan Livingston's seagull. Well, that was just a figmentation of some man's imagination. A seagull trying to find himself. Well, the last time that happened to me, I flew right straight into Tink's window. I saw myself, and I thought I was there. Well, you understand, I was kind of young, kind of stupid, and almost broke my neck. Speaking of stupid things, naming a seagull anything, Jonathan Livingston, is just absolutely crazy. Now, I don't have a name, though I've been called several, especially one day when I flew right over Tink's brand new car. You see, I don't have a name. I'm just me. Now, Tink, you'll see him in a minute, came from across that big water towards the setting sun. Now, I've never been there, but understand that's where all the real stupid seagulls go. They walk the farmers' fields eating bugs and worms. It must be the worms that make them act so weird, following tractors, hanging out in parking lots and chasing garbage trucks. Boy, I hate worms. I prefer seafood, and I know that Tink preferred seafood too. That's how I met him, standing in the surf with a thing he called a fishing rod. He'd throw a string that was attached to that fishing rod with some shrimp on the end. And me and my buddies were hanging around and having a contest, diving down to see who could get the shrimp off them hooks before it hit bottom. Usually it was the pelicans that won. Those big mouth rascals, they could eat up the whole world if they wanted to. Well, that day I followed him back home. Tink had a whole bucket of fish, and I was going to get some. Somehow. It sure beat diving into ice water and eating worms. Now this is Tink. You've already seen him before. I found this thing just outside his door and a bunch of other stuff. Another thing, favorite Tink, but it had a bunch of feathers. Tink didn't have too many feathers on his head. I've seen this face before. A daughter. That's what it is. I was standing right on top of Tink's house one day when she came and she was playing in Tink's car. She was so shy, hiding her eyes, but when she saw me, she just brightened up. I knew from that point on that we were going to be friends. Her name was Lucy. Well, one day, I heard Tink muttering to himself, "I'm going to build me a fish pond." Whoopee! Could I be any happier about anything? A fish pond? I was happy about that. And a house beside it, so he could sit on the porch and catch fish. Next thing I knew, there was a big machine just down the road. Tink made it dig a big hole in the ground. I watched it every day as Tink worked. It was big. Not as big as the ocean, but it was big. It was going to hold a lot of fish. Tink and me were going to be so happy. All we had to do now was build that house. until something happened. I don't know much about humans. Every day, I look for Tink, from his house to his pond, all the way to the beach, up and down the beach. I just couldn't find him again. I realized I'm just me, but I miss that man. No more free snacks. And people were building houses so close together and near his pond that you couldn't even fly between them. One day I was just hanging around the beach and I seen one of those newfangled flying machines zip right past me, almost knocked me right out of the sky. Made me so mad I took out after it as it headed straight for Tink's pond. It turned, it banked almost as good as I do. It was circling around Tink's pond, now full of fish and my main snack hangout. I didn't want that thing anywhere near Tink's pond. I didn't know what it ate. It was big enough to eat all the fish all by itself all at one time. It could eat up all the frogs, and the turtles, and the bushes, all the bugs. Now, it could have the worms. I didn't care about that. But it was zeroed in on my friend Tink's pond, and I wasn't going to have it. I'm glad I chased it away up the beach. I thought I knew where it was going to go, 'cause I'd see more of those flying machines sitting on the ground round there. Sure enough, I pitched on a post top and watched as that thing just zipped right in. I watched carefully. I wanted to see what kind of human was going to come out of that machine. It just puttered around, looked horrible on the ground, had no class at all, couldn't fold up its wings. The only time I hang around like that is when I'm either trying to cool off or take off. It did kick up some good bugs, though, rolled right up to me and stopped. Hey, I recognize that face. It was on a little girl playing in a car. It was that daughter. It was Tink's Lucy. She was all grown up, pretty, didn't look nothing like Tink, and that was good. And I was in love. Has she come to see me? What's it been, 30 years? I was stunned. Just stood there. What could I do? Early in the year 2000, Lucy was off to Raleigh with her aviation mentor, Henry, to attend a nursing convention and to take care of other nursing duties which were her responsibility, as she was one of the leading nurses in the state of North Carolina. It was on this trip that Lucy decided to bring together all her forces to build Tink's dream. It seemed that everything was laid out like the patterns on the ground from 10,000 feet. It was a dream, like being one of the few female pilots licensed in the nation and proficient in several types of aircraft. That dream came true when most women had all they could do to handle a single job,
having babies, and tending to a family. Lucy was handling 2 jobs at the time, raising 2 children, taking care of her grandmother, and in her head, designing Tink's home. Little did she know, with her own family, she'd discover exactly who and what she needed to accomplish that dream. Her daughter Rebecca and Rebecca's husband Mitchell and son Robert, who were Tink's grandchildren, were trained well enough to take a thought and turn it into a reality.
Now, wait a minute. Who's telling this story? I thought it was me. You see that right there? That's a drawing of Tink's house, the one that he was going to build. See that porch? That's where me and Tink were going to sit and fish. All right, she had that that drawing, and she walked around the lot and looked at Tink's pond over and over, and over the years, that pond was protected by them bushes. The only way you could get in there was climb through them bushes, climb out on that pier, or fly into it. I was so happy that Lucy was going to take over and build Tink's house. Almost every day, she was there, even in the wintertime. She'd walk around with a little box in her hand. She put it up to her face and look into it. I don't know what she saw in there, but I think she thought it was real important. She kept doing it over and over again until the sun almost went down. Then that little box sparked and almost blinded me with lightning. Now that was a little scary, but I loved Lucy, and I was going to take care of Tink's pond when she wasn't there. She loved me too. Every time she'd bring me something to eat, she had it in a bag. She'd reach in and throw a piece in the pond. I'd see it, dive right down on it, and scoop it up. It was good. Then I'd fly right up to her, and she'd throw a piece in the air. I'd grab it in midair and gobble it all down. She said I was good at aerobatics. She'd throw some in Tink's pond, too, for the fish and the turtles. And it was a party. Exciting. Almost as exciting as the day that Tink tried to get that leather bag.
Dateline, March 19, 1920. Airmail pilot Oliver Johnson narrowly escaped death on the outer North Carolina peninsula, but paid a king's ransom in gold coins to escape. The DH-4 mail plane, ironically named Clear Skies, plummeted to the ground in a narrow neck of the northernmost North Carolina peninsula during a sudden and horrific snowstorm. The aircraft sank almost immediately in a quicksand-infested bog, taking with it the 40-pound satchel of gold coins set for the payroll for the U.S. Life-Saving Service. Johnson hiked northward to the Corolla Lighthouse to be taken in.
Yep, Tink tried to find that bag when he started digging his fish pond in the wettest part of the area. Tink started turning up airplane parts with his drag line. It would come up, then drop away back into the pond and under the freezing water and back into the quicksand. He remembered the story of Clear Skies crashing into the area, but had no idea it would be on his property. But there it was. There was snow on the ground, and life was miserable as Tink calculated and figured and tried to scoop up the airplane, but it kept crumbling and falling into little pieces. Then he saw it, the leather bag, just before it split open. The gold coins sparkled, then fell back into the mud and quicksand and disappeared. It was like he was in a tug-of-war with the devil over them coins. Now, Lucy knew about Tink's struggle over those coins. But, too, she knew that if there was no way for her daddy to get those coins out of that quicksand, then it just couldn't be done. They just have to keep on sinking forever and ever. So construction got underway at Clear Skies in early 2001, almost 30 years to the day that Tink started digging his fish pond. Most of the dirt removed from the pond, with an occasional airplane part, was used to construct the roads here in Soundsea Village and to backfill the lot on which Clear Skies would stand. The contractors and workmen spent many cold hours in northeast conditions, sinking the large pilots on which Clear Skies would be held aloft to protect it from the elements. The pool was dug and placed precisely for easy access by its visitors. Many hours were spent selecting just the right furniture and accessories to reflect the birth of human flight just down the road at Kill Devil Hills. Loads and loads of topsoil and mulch were brought from the mainland and hand-shoveled into the beautiful flower beds and borders. Plants were brought in, carefully planted and nurtured to maturity to enhance the beauty of the building and Tink's Pond. Wildlife abounds in and around Tink's Pond. Sometimes when you're walking the edge of the pier, you'll hear a belly flop from a large bullfrog as he dives into the water. From the end of the pier, you'll see birds coming and going, some with their nest in the surrounding bushes. Swallows will sweep down into the pond collecting flying insects, and crows will call to you from a distance and then come thieving your shiny objects when your back is turned. So never leave your jewelry or coins on the upper decks or chairs where they can see it. It'll be gone in an instant. If you approach the pond quietly and look from edge to edge, you may see a heron standing in the shallow edges, waiting to make a meal of the many fish that you'll see as well. For the fish and turtles, the most fun is to get a loaf of bread and break up a slice at a time, and then throw it into the pond. Fish will come first and drag the bits underwater. Then you'll see many catfish and brim and perch taking part. Shortly, you'll see the little heads of turtles as they peep above the surface to see what is going on. They'll swim underwater like submarines before they surface and grab a piece of bread, then dive back down while they eat it. Remember, never dangle your toes in the pond water, as the turtles don't know the difference between you and a piece of food. All this feeding activity usually brings along our friend with his gang of flying Arabants, twisting and turning and catching pieces of bread in midair or snatching it up from the surface of Tink's Pond. Now, if you want to see more and learn more about the fish down in the ocean or the Sound, then there's no better place than the North Carolina Aquarium at Manteo. While Clear Skies was under construction, Lucy took some of her family to the aquarium for a look around. That looks like one of the best restaurants around. Oh, except for that big guy. I just wouldn't know where to start. I bet Tink and I could have done some top-notch fishing right there. But that's okay. Long as the ocean holds up and Tink's pond don't go dry, we'll be all right. There's always something to do here at Clear Skies.
In the late spring of 2001, Clear Skies was nearing its completion. From piles and piles of hand-picked timbers and lumber, the flowers were in place. The fence bordering Tink's pond had been built. The undergrowth there had been trimmed back to show the pond's beauty as Clear Skies reached for the sky with its red roof. People in the community stopped and marveled at her unique construction, delightful little gardens, and Lucy continued her work, making sure that each plant was in its proper place. The birds especially seemed delighted and extra friendly due to the bird feeders set about, and the realization that they were with their own kind, flyers.
All right, then what we'll do, we'll turn around. We'll go back. We'll put the water rudders down like a lot easier.
Tell you what, there's not much rollout, is it?
No rollout at all. Right?
Now that's what I call a proper flying machine. Lives in the water, on the beach, and flies in the sky. And I knew Lucy was just gonna have to try it. Now, Lucy loved all kinds of flying things. If it would fly, she was happy. She even had an artificial seagull, and that was scary.
So Clear Skies was completed, meeting all the requirements for Tink's dream. Just a place where you could sit on your front porch and fish to your heart's content. Clear Skies has already set the stage for one couple to become engaged on a moonlit night on the beach. Stolen kisses have been shared on its porches. Delightful family gatherings have been celebrated during Thanksgiving and Christmas. And let's not forget December 17th, when all of man's doubts, all of the naysayers stopped with their mouths agape as men flew for the first time. And Lucy's dreams are in progress to have a home which you could share with the world that reflects her loves for the sky and water. A home with real and true meaning. A place on earth that families and friends of a like mind could gather, breathe, touch, and feel the wonders of such a life.